Welcome to the Positively No Gambling Podcast, the pro football show that is definitely not about betting. My name is Glenn Fraser. It's Thursday, August 28th, and this is the 2025 team preview for the San Francisco 49ers. This is a fun one. I love talking about the Niners. Okay, so here's how the previews work. Two big questions that we pose from the start of the offseason. Recap 24, overview, and preview 2025. Look at some stats, trends, ATS leans based on the look ahead lines, conclude on those two big questions, and give out an over under season total win pick, which is preliminary. The final over under picks will be part of the AFC NFC previews posted right before the season starts in a couple of days now, which is awesome. All right, two big questions. Can they return to glory? This frame was not that long ago, but it feels like forever ago for the Niners based on last season. Can they get back to where they were just a couple of seasons ago, which was a perennial, almost inevitable Super Bowl contender? And secondly, did they improve the defense enough? Big defensive coordinator returning, Robert Saleh going back home to San Francisco to coach the defense, and plenty of turnover, which we will get to in a couple of minutes here. Okay, to recap 24, so many things to highlight. 6 and 11, which I think they're uh, Aaron Schatz is calling them the most talented or most successful 6 and 11 team ever, which is basically indication that they were much better than their record showed. They just had a season from hell, which we will get into. They started 5 and 4, finished 1 and 7. After the injuries piled up, after the schedule matchups just didn't go their way, things really fell apart. 1 and 7 against eventual playoff teams, which is a red flag for sure. You could talk about the games at the end of the season against Detroit and the Rams, in which they were real, and Buffalo, in which the wheels were really off. But they also lost to the Chiefs in week 7, the Rams in week 3, the Vikings in week 2. I mean, these were games where they were not expected to lose, and yet they did. So something that jumps out was their playoff record, which, if you are a hater, and well, not a hater, but if you're a pessimist when it comes to Niners this season, you're looking at that. Versus if you are an optimist, you have to deal with that. Do they bounce back when they have to play good teams in 25? So much is made of their schedule in 2025, which we'll get to, but they had the toughest schedule last season, along with a bunch of bad luck directly tied to their schedule. So they expected an easier schedule and had a brutal schedule, which is something that I'm tracking. First time I'm tracking, I'm seeing if things reverse the year after a very unlucky year schedule wise. They underachieved by game and a half. I mean, we'll get into that when we look at the Pythagorean stuff. 2 and 6 in one score games, season from hell, but a pretty good looking team when you look under the hood and really evaluate their talent. Speaking of, let's preview their offense. In terms of losses, they lost Deebo Samuel to Washington. They lost a guard, Aaron Banks, to the Packers. High profile, they lost Jalen Moore, tackle, to Kansas City. Moore was not projected to be a starter in this year's version of the Niners, hence why they let them walk. But Trent Williams, given his age and the fact that Moore played plenty in substitution for him last year, is worth noting. They lost Jordan Mason to Minnesota, which is either a huge loss because of how much of a contributor he was last year, or an indication that Christian McCaffrey is healthy, doesn't have an injury risk, and is expected to bounce back this season. I talked about it when I mentioned Kansas City. They lost Elijah Mitchell to Kansas City. Other than that, nothing really of note. So Samuel definitely a loss, Moore definitely a loss, but are these real contributors, or are they more rotational backup slash never going to hit the ceiling that they've hit with the Niners type guys? In terms of who they added, not a ton, honestly. Demarcus Robinson, backup receiver. Luke Farrell, backup tight end. They drafted Jordan Watkins, who could potentially be a rotational receiver. They drafted Jordan James out of Oregon with a late round pick. I didn't see great grades on him. I don't know. I like him. I like where he comes from. I think that in this offense, that they could get something out of him along with Garendo, who's returning. Beyond that, Mac Jones, they brought in to be a backup, not really of note there. Blue chips, George Kittle, the best, if not one of, at worst, top three tight end. Trent Williams, I know he's up there. I know he's always an injury risk, but when he plays, when he's healthy, he's one of the best tackles in football. Ditto Christian McCaffrey, injury risk, but when he plays, he's one of the best backs in football. High potential, but also sort of X factors here. Ayuk already injured, or Jawan Jennings has some injury risk. Pearsall. I mean, this receiving core looks maybe at best like a pretty good unit, but at worst looks incredibly thin and very fragile. Let's finish out though. X factor. I mean, McCaffrey coming back. If he's McCaffrey, this is a top 10 offense. If he's not, they could be looking at another disastrous year, which I think would then really start to change things in San Francisco. But it's not a make or break year or anything. This is still Kyle Shanahan. We still expect him to, by hook or by crook, bring a great offense to the table. Another defense. This is indicative of what the heck is going on with this defense. It was a terrible defense last year, no getting around that. Uh, Bad at run stop, bad at pass rush, bad at scoring. Just everything was a disaster. Ton of new faces, ton of people that have left for better opportunities. Some of this is they couldn't pay all these guys because they had to pay Brock Purdy. Other is these guys were just not that great last season and or had some injury risks and presented too much of a risk to sign them long term. But we'll go through them. Javarius Ward, cornerback, they lost to Indy. Dre Greenlaw, linebacker, lost to Denver. Hafanga, safety, lost to Denver. Devondre Campbell, still a free agent, decent linebacker. Javon Hargrave, D tackle, Minnesota. Malik Collins, D tackle, Cleveland. Leonard Floyd, and Atlanta. Isaac Yiadom, corner, New Orleans. That's a lot. These guys were starters. These guys were contributors. Not so great of a defense last season, but a lot of these guys were on the Super Bowl roster 2 seasons ago. Who did they replace them with? Mikael Williams in the draft, edge rush. Alfred Collins, big body, interior, draft, D lineman. Nick Martin, expected to start linebacker. Upton Stout, expected to play some nickel, draft, cornerback. CJ West, D tackle, expected to rotate in on that D line. Jackson Pinnock, expected to potentially back up Malik Mustafa. There's already some injuries in the secondary that are worth monitoring. So he could end up playing. Richie Grant could end up playing. Trey Brown, Siran Neal. These are all new faces. Blue chips. These are all new faces, and the faces that are familiar are pretty damn solid. Bosa is Bosa. He's a damn good pass rusher. Fred Warner, one of the best interior linebackers in football. I like Mikael Williams. A lot of people like him. Good reports out of camp. Same thing with Alfred Collins. X Factor, I mean, really, everybody, but like if Bosa drops off a cliff, they've got no chance of being a great defense. And it's really no make or break, but it's a brand new defense led by the returning Robert Saleh. So you bring Saleh back, get him out of his after he was relieved of that disastrous situation in New York. Does he ever coach a team again? Probably not. But could he coach the Niners defense as long as he wants the job? Maybe. I mean, that's where he earned his reputation, and the expectations are a lot higher on this defense because of Saleh. All right, let's go into the schedule. And the Niners are a team that a lot of people love, and Vegas has baked that into their over-under. And the reason people love them is because of three things, right? McCaffrey coming back, Ayuk, Jennings, Pearsall representing a potential threat in the receiving core, Kittle being a mainstay, Williams being a mainstay. So their offense effectively returning to form after the horrific injury luck that they had last year. The revamped defense under Saleh, and thirdly, the schedule. This schedule is the easiest in football, whether you measure it based on 24 results or 2025 over-unders or the advanced stats that the FTN guys publish. Easiest schedule. The home schedule in particular is insanely easy. Either the second or the third easiest. Think I think the Saints are the only ones with an easier one. Um, Only four games versus playoff teams, only one of which is on at home, which is a mandatory against the Rams. Every other home game is against not only non-playoff teams, but like pretty mediocre teams that don't necessarily travel. They get Jacksonville, they get Atlanta, Carolina, Tennessee, Chicago late. Um, and we talked about it. You can't just compare the schedule this year. You have to consider last year's schedule. So not only do they have the easiest road ahead this season, they had the most difficult road ahead last season. So this is, in a nutshell, this page is why I was way into this team at the start of the offseason. Many people are way into this team. Heading into the regular season, it just looks on paper like a schedule they really can take advantage, and we could be looking at a double digit plus win Niners team again. Some of the stats and leans, the more indication that just everything that could have gone wrong went wrong for them last year, and they're still pretty damn good. So the Pythagorean wins were 7.4, which wouldn't have been good enough for the playoffs, but definitely better than their record of 6-11. Close games we talked about, they were 2-6, which is actually a pretty. So they lost what 11 games, and only six of them were one score. So they got like blown out in some games, which is just not the Niner way. Uh, so not only did they have a bad record in close games, but they didn't play that many close games, which is a real indicator that this could revert quickly for them. Fumbles, we always talk about how that should fix itself naturally. That's a lot luck driven. The 23 to 24 win decrease -6. I mean, you would think that bounces not all the way back, but definitely should indicate that this is a much better team than record showed. Talked about the strength of schedule. It couldn't be more bolder, more underlined, jump out more. Bad luck schedule wise this season. So even if this doesn't end up being the easiest schedule in 25, I doubt it's going to be any more difficult than league average. O line, D line. I mean, solid talent on the O line, but they had some bad metrics. Part of that is because of the injuries. Uh, Pass rush was pretty damn good. Needed help at run stop. They seem to have addressed both in the draft. Time will tell. Against the spread leans, I like them in Houston, week 8. Houston doesn't really play that well at home, and talent-wise, I really feel like the Niners should be a favorite. And right now, they're a small dog. Week 12 against the Panthers, 6.5. I mean, that number might jump way up. Panthers getting a lot of respect in the look ahead lines. I don't buy that one. Same thing week 15 against the Titans. Niners becoming coming off a bye. Right now, that's only 7.5. A year ago, that probably would have been 13.5. Did that much change with the Niners and the Titans for that dramatic of a betting line change? I don't think so. So they're over unders high, way high. Surprised some folks, but it's reflected in the lines. I mean, they are favored in 13 of the 16 games that they play, including every single home game. They're only an underdog right now in the Rams, in Tampa, and in Houston. And we looked at that Houston one, they were only a dog by 1 point. And just worth noting, this might be the nerdiest team of all time. The stats are so overwhelming. It's scaring me a little bit when I make this pick, which I am going to go over 10.5. It's a high number. I get it. I loved this team so much going into the offseason based on all the stats and the nerd stuff and the circumstances. But it's all baked into the over-under. The only teams with the higher over-under right now are Baltimore, Philly, Kansas City, and Buffalo. So is San Francisco a top 5, a top 6 team like their over-under reflects? I don't know, but the schedule is so favorable. I do think that this should be a 11 to 13 win team. Probably win the division, definitely compete for it. There's potential that this is a Super Bowl contender without a doubt. I frankly do think that they have returned to form and that they've improved their defense dramatically. A lot was made about all the free agents that they let walk because of the Purdy contract, but also how good were these guys if they let up that many points last season and were that bad statistically? So a little bit of a Philly mentality here, which is we trust our draft, we trust our personnel, we trust our system, we trust our D coordinator. They've earned a lot of goodwill, San Francisco, so I do think that they've done enough on the defense. Um, Literally every metric that you like to measure regarding positive regression is in their favor. So you would think this team should bounce back, but the secret's out. This is no longer a fun team to talk about. It's a bandwagon team to talk about. The over-unders adjusted way up to 10.5, so you're not getting any real value, but I think it's a worthy over bet because they're only playing 4 games against playoff teams. They've got a ton of talent. They've got great leadership. Let's gamble that this is going over 10.5. Probably not worth any bets to win the division, given that they are kind of the co-favorite with the Rams right now. Probably not worth a Super Bowl ticket at this point. We'll see how they start off the season. Maybe you get better value later on. But I think for the over, I would go over for the Niners. So that wraps up the Niners. Tomorrow we'll be talking about the Seahawks, the one of the other teams in the NFC West, and another fun team to talk about given how much has changed in the off season. Until tomorrow, thanks. Bye.